How's it going? I'm Ryan Wolf, and I'm here with Gary Johnson and his take on modern Infect. So let's go ahead and take a look at the deck list. We got 14 creatures, kind of your normal stick of Noble Hierarchs, Glistener Elves, Blighted Agents, and Spellskites. Your normal pump spells, Vines of the Vastwood, Might of the Old Corrosa, Groundswell, Gataxian Probe, Become Immense, Apostle's Blessing, Slip Through Space, Wild Defiance, Twisted Image, a Rancor, Dismember, and a Mutagenic Growth. Lands, pretty standard of some fetches, some Ink Moth Nexus, Breeding Pools, Pendle Havens, and Forest. And into the sideboard, we have some Nature's Claims, Grafdigger's Cage, Spell Pierce, Dispels, a Viridian Corruptor, Dismember, Pulse Marasa, Spellskite, and a Twisted Image. So let's talk about some of the creatures that we got going on here,
All
Gary.
right, no problem.
So we got Noble Hierarch. How often do you really want to see Noble Hierarch in your opening hand?
If I'm on the draw, I want to see it every game.
Just on the draw?
Yeah. So uh, if you're holding the Glistener Elf in hand on the play, it's definitely going to be your first play. It's what leads the deck to the turn, potentially two, more realistically three win.
Okay.
So on the play, I want to see the Noble because it's going to catch me back up. It also lets me go for a turn two Lighting Agent, followed up with a protection spell.
All right.
So
Let's talk about Glistener Elf next. Pretty strong creature. Being a 1/1, but being able to pump it up really easily with Infect is, and all your pump spells is
yeah,
pretty good.
like I said, it's the card that lets the deck
Function.
really be competitive in modern right now. It'll lead to your turn three wins. Um, and it comes down on turn one, and they really got to kill it, or Infect's gonna win.
All right. Let's go ahead. Blighted Agent next. Uh, particular, just kind of different. I know there's the mono green version. They don't even play the Blighted Agents. Mainly, I think it's a budget concern because of Noble Hierarchs.
Yeah,
Obviously, you don't have the budget concerns here with your Blighted Agent. So, talk a little bit about this.
Lightning Agents probably be the second most important card in the deck. It lets Infect play the fair game. In mirror matches, a lot of times you're going to side out a lot of your pump spells. You're going to play the fair Infect game. So it's hitting for one. It also lets for the unblockable. So he lets you not really worry about what your opponent's doing
All
or
right.
what creatures they're playing.
Next up, we have Spellskite. Spellskite's kind of an interesting one, I think, as far as it lets you kind of protect your creatures and also stop opposing Spellskites a little bit. I mean, you could get in that kind of a target war there, I guess.
Yeah. Recently Spellskite hasn't been being main deck as much. A lot of people opted to put it in the sideboard. I chose to go back with it in the main deck because with only a couple weeks out of the Eldrazi format, as we call it. I don't really know what people are going to be playing.
Right.
It's kind of a catch-all. It's going to protect me against burn, other infect decks, boggles, anything that the deck's not necessarily prepared for in the sideboard. Um,
So it's just a kind of a catch-all for game
yeah,
one, just in case.
yeah, it's an extra. Basically, it becomes an extra protection spell.
All right, that's cool. Next up, we have probably most important land that you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier, Ink Moth Nexus. Would you say this is the most important card in the deck, or would you say that it's probably just the most important land?
Um, Depends on the matchup. So
Depends on the matchup.
against burn, it's definitely the most important card in the deck. With getting a first or second turn Ink Moth Nexus, you don't have to protect it. You can let it sit there. You can develop your board. You can block with your other creatures to keep your life total up. And then when you have the combo enough to deal the 10 infect, um, it's that. And then a lot of decks in Modern don't have flying creatures, so that definitely lets you.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, Lingering Souls is kind of a problem for your deck, but
Yeah,
just sitting behind an Ink Moth Nexus, you can kind of
yeah.
play around the Lingering Souls. Next up, we've got Pendlehaven. Uh, kind of a more of an interesting card for the deck. I've seen some versions of Infect even cut the Pendlehavens. I'm not exactly sure if that's the right move. You seem to
Um,
be going
yeah.
and sticking with it.
The Pendle Haven lets for a lot of just unfair attacks. It has the combo with Twisted Image, so you can flip the power and toughness, be able to deal 3 damage on turn two. It lets you, with some of the other pump spells, you can protect from a lightning bolt or something with smaller damage. You don't want to waste a big pump spell
Right.
on protecting a creature, but you also can't let your creature die.
Exactly.
So the Pendle Haven kind of lets you that. It also lets you set up for the early turn three kills.
Sounds good. We're gonna get into some of the pump spells now. First up is Might of Old Corrosa. You were saying a little bit before the interview that a lot of decks are starting to move away from that. Why do you think that is?
Well, there for a while they switched over to it because with Splinter Twin out of the format, you're able to pump before combat steps. But I see a lot of lists online now going back to
The groundswell
the
version.
groundswell version. Yes, I'm not a big fan of the groundswell over the Mighty Will Corsa due to the fact of it sets up for more blowouts.
Right.
On top of that, there's with only running 19 lands, there's times that I don't have that,
The
and I've
landfall.
lost games in the past where if I would have just top decked the land for the landfall, it would have been game. But if I would have had the Might of Old Cross over it, it would have been game
Right,
over.
because that
So
casting it main phase is just kind of big.
yeah,
Like, I mean, yeah, you want to use it for a combat trick, but also just casting it main phase and just like your
yeah,
doom is coming.
yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and move to the sideboard here. You've got a kind of an interesting one with that Pulsa Marasa in the on the sideboard. Tell us a little bit about that and why you
Well,
chose to go with the Pulse.
I would have to say the worst matchup for Infect is Burn, um, and the matchup gets worse depending on the player that you're playing against.
Right.
I saw that one of the pros was playing a deck on online, and I saw that the deck he was using ran at least one of these, and another deck ran two for the burn matchup or any aggro matchup. Um, with Inkmoth being as important as it is, being able to freely swing it with an Inkmoth Nexus, if it gets killed, being able to bring it back and gain the life is amazing in the burn matchup.
So in the burn matchup, would you say that you would rather have the Pulsa Marasa or would you rather have the Spell Skite, you think?
Actually, probably the Pulse, because with that matchup, the Spellskite becomes more of a blocker. It'll
Right.
save one burn spell, but that matchup you're not winning in 3 turns.
Okay.
It's going to be something that you win in the 6 to 7 turn range.
So
So
you think you even want it more over the say the Naya kind of burn list where it's got a little bit more creature heavy with the
yeah,
wild Nicottles and everything?
yeah, because the Spellskite will block. It's going to protect your creature for 1 turn, but a lot with like I said, with a good burn player, they're not going to attack your creature till the end of the turn.
Exactly.
So the Spellskite may save it for a turn, but the life usually what matters. In that matchup, I'm trying to set up an Inkmoth Nexus for the win.
All
Get
right.
enough pump spells in hand to close the game out. So having the extra life really matters.
Okay. Next up, we've got Graph Digger's Cage. Kind of a mainstay of modern since basically since the inception of the format. Uh, Graph Digger's Cage helps you against the company decks and maybe a couple other decks. Is there
Yeah.
anything besides the company decks that you may be
Uh,
worried about?
it's primarily in there for the company deck, but it's I've seen a lot of use for it now too since the Thopter decks are getting popular.
Okay.
And it's not the Thopter combo that I'm worried about. It's the transitional sideboard where they become the reanimator.
Okay.
So being able to if they reanimate can't think of the name of it, but it's the 7 mana.
Grizzlebrand
No,
or
not Iona. The one it basically gives everything -2, -2.
okay. Yep, I know exactly which
So
one I'm talking. Yeah.
can't think of the name of it, but
Elishnorn.
Elishnorn, yeah.
There we go.
Elishnorn hits the field, it's game over. It's automatic scoop because I have nothing in my deck that can
Even
live
really
through
remotely deal with it. Yeah.
deal with it or live through it.
Exactly.
So that's been very important, and playing that in the last couple of weeks with an uptick of that deck was um, just dealing with the combo. I mean, the deck can deal with the tokens, the life gain doesn't matter to the deck, so it's the unblockable creatures is just dealing the infect, but that combo I can't stop. So
Uh, Makes a lot of sense. Another kind of interesting thing that we didn't really touch on in the main deck was the slip through space and the wild defiances. What made you bring up the slip through spaces over, some of the other traditional can't be
well,
blocked
I
spells?
went back and forth between that one and the other
The rechase one or the
yeah,
rebound one, excuse me.
the rebound one, and they primarily do the same thing, but a couple times I saw myself wanting to be able to cast it and draw a card.
Right.
So there's numerous times that drawing the card is more important than the +1/+0,
Okay.
and there's been other times that the little bit of the pump helps, but being able to make a creature unblockable and basically refill my hand is the reason why I chose to go with that card over there.
And then you seem to have taken some of the tech from the basically the mono green deck with the wild defiance.
Yeah.
Uh, How often do you really want to see that in your deck, or do you sideboard it out more on depending on the matchup, or is it just
It depends on the matchup. I saw I've had it as a 2 of in the sideboard. I've had it all the way up to a 3 of in the sideboard. Um, and I got to the point where it's you want to see it as a 1 of, you don't want to see it in multiples,
right?
and you only want to see it against certain matchups. But the reason why I chose the main deck it is that some people are other decks other than Infect are main decking spell skites,
Okay,
especially the Thopter decks. If a spell kite comes down and you can't kill it, it's usually game over for the Infect deck.
Right.
But with the Wild Defiance, I'm still able to pump my creatures. The Spell Sky may be able to steal it, but they're still getting the bonus from the Wild Defiance.
I can't can't argue with it. I
Yeah,
mean,
so I
it
mean,
seems like
it's becoming a win more card.
Uh, what matches do you think you really want to see it in the most?
Um, it's real. I really want to see it in the Thopter deck.
Okay.
Um, if I'm on the play, I want to see it in burn. So,
All right.
so
For tomorrow, we got West Virginia Modern States. What deck do you want to see against? What deck do you want to play against the most?
um, it's surprising and it's probably one of the worst matchups for Infect, but I want to see Jund.
You just want to see
Yeah,
Jund.
I have a
That's kind
total
of
overall for. I've been playing Infect now for 2 years, and I have a very good win percentage against Jund. And just me knowing my own deck and been playing it for so long,
So
I
you're
enjoy
saying that
playing against Jund.
you're going to take your chances of knowing the deck over just your
Yeah,
standard everyday Jund player.
yeah. So people that picked it up after the new set came out,
Right.
I would take my chances with that. So
All right.
um,
Well, there you have it. Gary Johnson with Infect. Pretty interesting take on some of the cards that he's chosen for us today. I'd like to thank him for joining us.
thank
Again,
you guys.
I'm Ryan Wolf for Four Horsemen Comments of Gaming. Thank